I don't know. I don't know why you can't hear me. We are camping.
You're camping again? You guys love that.
We're, oh man, do we ever.
Yeah,
It's the life, Chris. Look at me. Look at me. I'm relaxed. I'm wearing a sweatshirt.
I know. You're like,
I
there's
mean,
leaves behind you and stuff.
just leave the world behind and yeah, something like that.
Go
But
to
it's
another
awfully
world.
crowded. It's a whole different
You know,
world here.
just
It's
go to another world because
very
I think there's a lot of visitation. You just need to hop on one of those flying saucers when they land.
yeah, maybe. You know, it's
Yeah.
interesting. I followed up a little bit on that um Woodrow Derenberger story. And
Yes, I did
it's
too.
it's odd. It's just a weird and they so he died, I guess, in 1990. And so
Yeah.
they did I was watching a thing with the daughter and it's just weird because the, I told you that supposedly the guy, the alien injured cold, moved in next door with his family. It's just
I hadn't
crazy.
heard.
I don't
I read an
even.
article. It didn't go into that detail.
Oh, you read an article about it?
Yeah, but it said that he kind of became like he divorced his wife. His family he became estranged from his family, lost his job, and the article said he didn't really have any more interactions with Ingrid Cold. But he became a recluse kind of guy, and he didn't really
Really?
benefit from his experience. And I did listen to the interview he gave when it first happened. So I don't know what the article I'm going to pull up right now. I was just looking at it. It was from thedailyyonder.com. And, just kind of a brief article. I guess it was
Yeah.
written probably, well, it talks about when he died and everything, the Mothman prophecy stuff. But yeah, go
Right.
ahead and tell
Right. Right.
tell about what you found about. That's interesting. He became next door
Well,
neighbors.
yeah, it was just kind of a little interesting sort of a thing, and it really didn't. I can't say didn't give me any more like detail. The daughter just almost began to reminisce about how she felt, and she didn't go into a lot of detail of like the effects on his life. Now maybe it was a long video, so I bailed
Uh,
after a while because I thought, oh my god, I'm not getting really any more information on this thing other than kind of her living next to Andrew Cold, and it just got kind of like weird. And the interviewer was saying, well, how did you feel? And I just thought, well, I just kind of want to get details of the whole incident, and it wasn't kind of going that direction. Now maybe it did later on, but it was just odd. The whole story was odd. And I was wondering, and I was just kind of wondering if you read an article. See, like I didn't know that that's what happened. That is because that's kind of pretty common with those kind of
for
incidents where they
people to get
call
into
it.
that kind of
Well, it changes. Like
state of
I was
mind.
watching
Yeah, I guess it would.
one show. Well, we talked about this. I told you about the guy that was up down in Texas near I think it was Palestine, Texas, and
Yeah,
he's up on this hill with a couple of his buddies, and this big UFO flies over. I mean, he is absolutely stunned by this event,
right.
and it literally his life kind of spirals out. Just kind of he can't do anything else other than just research, kind of look into what he's experienced, to find
Hmm.
out if there's, he's calling there was a military air base within 50, 60 miles of where he was, and so he's calling them, trying to get information, and they're not giving him the straight story. They're lying to him. And they said, "Oh no, there were no F-18s or F-16s released from the base on that date. No, no." And he said, "Hey, I saw three of them fly by. I mean, you can't tell me they weren't like Mexican. They were U.S. aircraft." He said, "I'm a
Hmm.
pilot." He had some experience. I remember what he was like. He had his own business. He was really involved in his community. And after this event of seeing this UFO and this whole thing, I mean, he became like a different person in the sense of he was researching this all the time. His marriage fell apart. His business pretty much fell apart. And so that's kind of common, you know,
Yeah.
for this seemingly, I mean, I shouldn't say that it's common because it's not a common event, but it's not uncommon that those kind of things have that kind of an effect. That kind of an incident would have an effect on a negative effect on people's lives. Then there's other people they'll talk to and they laugh about it. Go, "Yeah, I never thought about it again." I saw it. They had two radar operators on the two radar operators. One guy, goes into, after this incident, he figures the world's going to end. He figures the UFOs are going to show up. He goes crazy. His life falls apart. He ends up working in as a dishwasher in this town in Oregon, down in Southern Oregon, and yeah, so everybody's got their own
Yeah.
story. And then the other radar operator forgot all about it, didn't even think about it ever again. Just like, yeah,
Hmm.
whatever.
I guess it depends
So
on your personality.
yeah, yeah. So
According to
but
the article, you mentioned that this Indrid Cole moved in next to his farmhouse. Well, in the article, it says here that I'm reading that they visited frequently, Cold and friends. Didn't say he moved in next door, but it says that he visited frequently.
that's what this woman, the daughter of his of Woodrow Derenberger, but she was quite young when this happened. Like she was 4 years old when
Yeah.
this happened. So, maybe her memory is flawed. I
Sure.
don't know. Because she was well into her 50s when they interviewed her, or she is well into her 50s, or probably 60s now. Um, she must have been born in what? This interview was
Yeah,
done
about
quite a
the same age
while.
as me, I guess. It happened in '66, the incident.
Yeah, but I mean, the interview they just did recently, in the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Um, but
Was it was it
yeah.
Spectre
So anyway,
magazine?
yeah,
That's
kind of. I mean,
what I was looking at. Brian Dunning from Spectre
I should have.
magazine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, I mean, it's like one of these interesting stories, but really weird at the same time. I mean, it's almost like, yeah, it's like all these stories. The more you look into it, the more you scratch your head and go, I'm not convinced, but then I'm not unconvinced either. Because in the original event that happened, Indrid Cole says to him, "I'll see you again,"
We
and
will
he
see
did.
you again.
"We will see you again," or all, like, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
meet again, thing. And he did the television interview with that TV station within like a day or two of that event.
It was the next day. Yeah. And I listened
And
to the interview.
oh,
I,
did you?
I listened to him tell the story.
Yeah. And so in that stream, I mean, you don't get you know then to hear that this Indrid Cole guy keeps showing up or whatever. I mean, it's just a weird, fascinating kind of a thing.
yeah, it was kind of well, I
Yeah.
listened to the interview, and obviously having law enforcement experience, done hundreds of interviews, and this guy Derenberger, I mean, very calm and cool. Very, he told it just story moved really flowed really well. You know, kind of like yeah, he actually experienced it, or he uh, thought it up in his head, and it's hard to tell the two. There are ways to identify whether it's a made up story or actually somebody did live the story. He never really said anything about any ordinary smells, or, I mean, he did mention he was upset and frightened, but typically when somebody experiences something that was very, shocking, or they kind of throw in things that they felt, like I feel the hair standing up the top of my, or just this, oh, there's this putrid odor, or
Right,
something.
right,
They kind of, they pick out things that are kind of strange, that they may not flow with the story so much, but like
right,
his fingernails had blood underneath them or something,
right,
that kind
right.
of thing. They just People subconsciously pick things up, and usually when they're retelling the story, like things will just pop, like, oh yeah, yeah, especially if they're asked questions, they're like, oh yeah, yeah. So, anyways, so I thought it was interesting. He just, to me, it sounded
Well
like,
rehearsed.
yeah, he thought it up, and he's just telling the story how he thought it up. Another way to determine whether they thought the story up or whether it really happened, you have them tell the story backwards. If you're comfortable with having someone do that, start from when they got home, whatever their ending point, and have it go tell the story in reverse. Because if you thought it up in your head, you won't be able to go in reverse because you didn't actually experience it. Now he probably experienced a lot of it because he did drive home. He did,
Yeah.
so the actual part would be when he interacts with this
He,
guy. But that's
he
just a technique
experienced
you can use.
yeah, he
Uh,
experienced the driving part anyway, for sure.
right. Yeah, he would be able to tell the story all the way up until, oh, then Ingrid Cole came to the window, and then the
Yeah.
witnesses is kind of interesting. The witnesses say they did see him talking to somebody alongside the road in his vehicle, but they don't mention this big huge vehicle that the person had gotten out of. It was like floating, it was hovering. So it's kind of weird. Like, I'm thinking, well, they saw this individual, Ingrid Cole, but they didn't notice this spacecraft parked next to the vehicle.
Yeah,
To
that
me, that's
doesn't
kind of odd. You know,
yeah,
I'm
that's
not saying
weird.
this guy's lying. I mean, I don't know. But it's
So
just,
so there actually were people that, because in the story he doesn't see anybody drive by him after that thing lands.
oh no, he does. He talks about some. He saw some headlights go by and this and that.
Oh, does he? Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
that.
So,
I'll watch it
and
then.
there are witnesses, and some weird things did happen in the areas and other places close by about people seeing lights in the sky and things like that. So yes, it seems like something did happen. Now, maybe he experienced things that did happen and he saw the lights and then just made up a part of his story to make it a little bit more interesting for the
Yeah,
listener, you
yeah.
know, that he talked to this guy. But anyways, just things, you don't, it's hard to tell if somebody's lying or telling the truth. That's extremely difficult. But what he went through after telling his story, something happened. I mean, he ends up getting divorced and fired and estranged from his family and friends. I mean, something's going on there, you know. So
Really?
anyway,
I did not see that. Yeah, that is really interesting. Um, I did not know that about his background. I didn't, I thought maybe getting to this part with the daughter would be like a real eye opener, but it really wasn't. And
yeah,
and which, to be fair, not everybody tells a good story, or necessarily, you know,
I mean,
everybody's different,
he
So
could have fallen
so for
asleep alongside the road and had this vision or a dream, and who knows, or maybe he really experienced it. I think he really did experience it, you know, to what
yeah,
he
something
experienced
happened. You're
something
right.
of
Something seemed to happen. Yeah, it
it.
is
And
fascinating. Yeah, it's kind of I'll try to dig up that I'll dig up that article. And you said it was in Spectre. You didn't say Spectre, did you?
yeah,
Spectre
the
magazine.
the article I'm looking at uh, was Brian Dunning Spector. He did but he didn't mention the daughter at all. So I don't know if it's the same.
So when was this article done?
It's online here. I'm looking to see. Oh, Spectoid magazine. Spectoid.
Hmm.
Brian Dunning Spectoid magazine, and it's an internet links. I don't see a date of when it was done, but it talks about his death. Okay, here it
Oh,
is.
okay. So,
December 3rd, 2021,
okay. So just
by
recently.
Liz
Well,
Carey.
I think a lot of people were really fascinated by the that Eyes on Cinema. If you watched, you got to
I haven't
that
watched
site.
any of that.
What's that?
I
Did
haven't
you see
watched
that
any
one?
Eyes on Cinema yet.
Oh,
Negative.
okay. It's a good channel. So a lot of people saw the original interview video with him on that from that Eyes on Cinema channel. And it's been on for a few years, I guess. I don't know how long it's been on, but anyway, yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, and I mean, coming at it from your perspective as an investigator, looking at an eyewitness to any event, um, that's kind of that's really interesting hearing your perspective. Anyway, I mean,
If you're doing the interview, you need a baseline on the individual you're interviewing, which I don't have a baseline on him really. They kind of just go right into the interview. So I don't know what this guy's like normally. Normally, you'd open up the interview and ask questions to get questions the answers to, see how he
right,
answered, maybe some questions that may be a little bit more difficult. But anyways, you want to see what he looks like telling the truth, definitely. So as he's telling the
right,
story, you may be able to pick up on some mannerisms that would indicate he's lying. But for something like this, if he dreamt it or had a vision, he's in his mind it's the truth. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So
And you never,
um,
and who knows? I mean, maybe his life was out of control and he was tanking, and all this stuff was
sure.
just. I remember watching a YouTube, a TV show. It wasn't YouTube. It was a TV show about an event that happened. The event happened in the late '90s, and and this guy said there were aliens in his on his property and all this stuff. And I watched the TV show, and the conclusion you draw from the TV show is this guy kind of business is failing, and he's losing it. This is his response to the business, all this pressure that he's under. What's really fascinating, years later, I saw him on another on a video uh, log on YouTube, video blog on YouTube, and he recounts that whole incident and said that basically the TV show that came and did the story totally misrepresented what happened,
Oh
which was
wow, ouch.
fascinating. Yeah, he just said he was blown away because he felt totally betrayed. They said, "Oh yeah, we'll do it," and then they just said, "Yeah, he's kind of crazy. His business is failing." And there
Hmm.
was some uncomfortable video, where his son at the time was like, I don't know, 15 or so. I don't know how long ago this was going on, but um, it might have been late '90s, could have been 2007, 2008, could have been 10 years ago. So anyway, the son is saying, "Oh, Dad, no, Dad, don't tell the story." And the video, the film crew was filming while the kid's saying this, and it's just like, "Oh
Hmm.
man, this does not look good." But then years later, he said he's communicated with NASA. He knows guys at NASA now, and he's you know friends with these guys because these events are still happening at his house,
Oh wow.
supposedly.
Huh.
And you see, and people have video footage, but it's all like these little blobs of light. It's like I don't
Yeah,
know what.
yeah, grainy and
Yeah, I could be looking at a flashlight off in the distance. I don't know what it is, but and I mean, look at I'm into this stuff, but even a lot of it is I get it. It's just inconclusive. Other than the eyewitness testimony, the
yeah,
evidence itself is inconclusive to a certain degree. You're looking, it's a dark
right.
night, there's bright light, that's all you can see. You know. Anyway,
Right. Right. So we'll have to make
but
up
this
a side note. We'll have to make up some of our own alien abduction stories with flashlights and at night.
which
That
I'm
would make
sure
this the Swamp Files really good. I'm not saying one of us has to get abducted, Mike, but
or particularly swampy swamp file stories.
you happen to be in the woods camping. Watch your six.
And I saw some unusual. Oh man, this is the good thing about this place.
Sleep well
Um,
tonight.
you do, yeah. We do. Actually, the stars are out. Really, it's been pretty nice. It's supposed to be 80 something today, but anyway, it's pretty nice.
So for
So listen,
Swamp
I have
File
to
number
cut this
2, should we
short
close
because
the
my
case with the Woodrow
yeah,
Derenberger
I don't
case?
know if we're gonna get. I mean, unless you want to dig into it some more. I mean, to me, it's like there's just it's
There's
just
some. I think
it's
we move on
kind of
to
a sad
another case.
yeah, another crazy case. But this one, it's kind of like a sad. Oh, there's another interesting. If you want to look into a really fascinating one that's well documented, is this Lonnie Zamora that happened in 1957 or 58 in New Mexico, outside a small town in New Mexico. This police officer is driving
Laura,
around. Lonnie Zamora,
Ronnie.
and he's out and he sees what looks like to him are two children outside this vehicle, this craft, in this. You know what an arroyo is? It's like a depression, or it's an elevator with
Yeah.
a depression, an arroyo. He
Mhm.
called it an arroyo. And so he thought, well, that looks really weird. So he pulls over. It's kind of outside of town. So he pulls over off the road, gets out of his car, and starts going towards the craft. And when these two beings or whatever see him, they jump the craft and it flies off. He is totally blown away. And so
Mm.
he calls the he is the police. He radios in, and they have within a few hours they have military, uh, federal agents on the scene, along I don't know if they were military or federal, with taking they see the depressions, the burnt vegetation, they see
Okay.
footprints.
Yeah.
So I mean, people are there taking this guy. Never really talked about it again, really much. I think later on in life he did, but he just said, it's just police work, and you don't want to get too involved. But it's a fascinating story because it was well documented to the degree that he radios in right away. They get a they
Right.
get people up there to investigate it. Federal agents show up. I don't know if they were federal or military. It's been a while since I read the article or watched the video, but it's just a very well documented case. And just kind of really fascinating. So that's one.
We can look into it and see what we can dig up.
Yeah, yeah. I'll get that. Get that one
Yeah.
uploaded
And one
today.
more
I
thing,
think I
which
should be able to
I
put.
came across this guy. He's actually, oh, anyways, Joe Rogan didn't interview him, but it was kind of related to a Joe Rogan show. This guy's name is Joseph Jordan, Joe Jordan, and he does investigations into people who have been abducted. But he specifically is interviews people that use the in the name of Jesus, leave me alone weapon, that, or started singing
Yeah,
hymns and did something in a spiritual aspect, and the aliens immediately stopped doing what they were doing and actually didn't return. Or so he's got a bunch of cases, I guess, he's been investigating with
really.
kind of looking into the spiritual side of how to basically what's going on. So
Oh, that's
obviously,
that's really interesting. I mean, you know, honestly, whenever I get involved or not necessarily, that's really fascinating. That would be fun to look into because more and more people are starting, and of course, everybody has their views, but even some of these some of the people that are looking into it are taking more of a spiritual angle, looking at it from more of a spiritual angle, saying, what we understand as like physical could, could be something that's transitional, that's kind of interdimensional kind of things that are able to be physical, but they're not necessarily here in this dimension. I don't know, but it is a that would be, let's do that one. I mean, that's really fascinating to
we
me.
can
That's
look
like a
into
whole
some
new.
of his. I mean, he's got, I guess, many studies or cases that he's investigated. He said initially he would just he was interested in UFOs, and then he kind of got associated with an organization that kind of, they mentioned, or I guess he was in South Korea, and they mentioned that a person that they had talked to used the name of Jesus, and the aliens left him alone. And he's like, well, why didn't you put that in your report? Like, and they didn't really want to add that to the report because they're a secular organization, and they felt that would be too spiritual. They didn't want to start. So he said that it was kind of, for him, it was like, wait a minute.
Oh, that is
something that
really
worked to get these people free from alien abductions. Yeah, So then he started researching that specifically, and he says he's really amazed of all the cases that people have been calling him and that he's ended up looking into. But yeah,
'cause
Joseph Jordan.
I've never heard anybody that come up in any of the stories that I've heard. I mean, other than that one where you sent me the link where the guy's talking about the orbs and he's
Right.
them. And I thought, I kind of rolled my eyes, thought, oh my gosh, whatever.
Yeah, but I think it seems to be more prevalent. And I brought up the Joe Rogan show because he had Tucker Carlson on it, I don't know, a couple months ago. And they did talk about aliens briefly. And Tucker was saying, which I thought was pretty interesting, he said, back historically, you look at ancient times, they're very spiritual oriented people. Sure. Always talking about, everything seemed to be in the spiritual realm. He said, but that seemed to have ended when we dropped the atom bomb, where suddenly the worldview became more secular because, it was almost like it changed, that we became the gods because we could kill hundreds of thousands of people at a push of a button. I thought that was interesting, that in a way that kind of was a paradigm shift from a very spiritual existence to more of a secular humanistic. But anyways, Tucker Carlson was saying that, and I thought, well, that's a pretty interesting view.
Yeah.
But well, we can, you
could. I mean, I think a lot of this stuff. I think a lot of this stuff that has been going on for longer than that, but that's definitely, I would consider that a piece of the puzzle, because we're definitely transitioning from, I mean, I don't know if we were ever like a Christian society. I don't know if that's ever been true, but definitely more Christian than we are now. Yeah. That post-Christian or post-Christianity kind of a thing. But that is fascinating. I'd love to watch some of those videos. I'll have to look up.
I mean, if you could offer a tool of, hey, if you get abducted, use this. I mean, that's something. That's better than nothing. You can't outrun an alien, as far as I know.
Definitely. Hey, look, you're so far into it at that point. Start throwing the name of Jesus around. I mean, hey, you can't get any. You can. I guess it can get crazier, but it's definitely. That's definitely.
Maybe we can start selling little vials of holy water.
Throw this on the
old squirt gun with holy water.
Yeah. Oh, baby, that'll show them.
The swamp gas squirt gun defense.
Oh, Chris, I'll tell you what. Oh man, I don't want to run the name. I don't mean to run the name of Jesus down, but that would be you got a squirt gun, a little cross.
Yeah.
Your alien abduction prevention kit. Little.
Of course, in the kit you have the prayer of salvation.
There you go. I mean, that, and we can even get like those little ray gun squirt guns, that look like a ray gun. Just, come on.
Yeah. We go all out. I mean, say, let's hit the dollar store. Start talking.
You know what?
Stuff.
We could. All right. Listen, I gotta let you go, and we'll
All
get
right,
that
Dan.
stuff. All right.
So
Thank you.
yeah, Swamp Files #2.